Hello, hello! Can you hear me? Welcome, welcome! Welcome to my first stream post-Babathon! We are back, we are hecking back, as I just realized. Nothing against the bonus bites. They were a special gift for Babathon, so I'll just keep the one on my head for now. Yippee! Welcome, welcome. Hello, hello. We are back to our regularly scheduled programming. Once more, I'm gonna say, let me know if there's too much background noise. I did open my window because it's really nice out this morning. Seemed to be having really nice weather, so I thought I'd open my window. But if you can hear too much background noise, like, it's not too noisy outside right now, but if the construction, starts happening again, they're not working right now, but if the construction starts back up, I might have to close the window, so just let me know. If you hear noises, it's probably from the outside world. So if it gets too bad, I can close the window, but I wanted to keep it open for a little bit to get some fresh air in here. But yeah, today we are going to be continuing my playthrough, or I guess read-through, of Higurashi no Nakokoro ni Chapter 1, Onikakushi. Concerning the noise your mic live, yibbly! Heck yeah! Yibbly. Yeah, I also tried increasing the volume of my mic in OBS, since I know some of you are telling me that my audio is a little bit quiet. So let me know how the volume levels are right now. I did increase it a little bit, so I should be a bit louder than usual. So hopefully this is a good volume for you guys. Hopefully. But yeah, I am excited to be back to our regularly scheduled programming. Like, Babathon was so fun. I'm so glad I did it. But oh my gosh, doing 3 streams a day for multiple days is exhausting. That was a lot. Also, I just noticed one little thing. Let me go ahead. I'm just gonna adjust something. Just like fiddling with everything this morning. Let me see. Go into stream elements real quick. Why am I logged out? Stream elements, what are you doing? Wait, no. No. Ah! Next with YouTube. Please. Thank you. Alright. Remind me later. Come on. We have to fix my overlay because my sub-goal overlay is always a little bit out of date. I'm just gonna adjust that real quick, and then we can get started on our game. Here we go. Alright, let me look. Perfect. Alright, we should now be good to go. So let's go ahead and get started on Higurashi. Let me get the game open. Let me hide the bonus bites here too. We love the bonus bites, but they were a special Babathon gift. This is a window capture game. Perfect. Alright. This should be good. Oops. Alright, there we go. Let me know if this is good or if I need to adjust anything. I will adjust if necessary. But for now, let us just continue. So we last stopped at the end of chapter 7. So, stuff is going down. For those of you who weren't here for the previous parts, stuff is happening. We are out of the silly, goofy, slice of life content, and we are entering the dark and creepy territories. Perfect, yippee. Contrary to the silly, goofy music that is playing right now, the silly, goofy is about to come to a screeching halt. Oops. Let's continue. Sleepy. I'm usually awake once it's time to eat, but doesn't look like I can do it today.
ゆうべ遅くまでテレビ見てたら眠くて眠くて。
ケイちゃんが喜びそうな番組なんかやってたっけ？
不潔千番でございますわ。
ちょっと待て。勝手に想像して決めつけるんじゃねえ。
男の子なら当然です。恥ずかしくないですよ。
Rika not patting my head only made me feel worse. Man.
ちょっとこの昼休みは爆睡させてくれ。いや、ほんと、マジで。
あら、私が黙って見過ごすとお思いで。
邪魔したら怒る。すごい怒る。
Casey is so intimidating. We are all terrified of angry Casey. This was just dreadful. Just so sleepy. I slumped my head onto the desk and drifted off into an afternoon nap. It seemed that Satoko had responded, but I pretended not to hear. Not going for the PS2 sprites is a pretty courageous move. I don't like the newer sprites. The old ones have so much more charm. They're so much better. I didn't get much sleep. Just spending the day like this. Thing was certain. I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He wanted my assistance, but I really didn't know anything about it. I couldn't help but resent Oishi-san for this.
それっていつから？
もう次の日にはいなかったって。
Oh man.
綿流しの晩に失踪したらしいよ。
Aw, heck, it's happening. Mion whispered to keep others from listening, but even harder to pick up. But I could still tell that she was quite upset. It couldn't be. Are they talking about Tomitake-san?
さん、けなの？
わかんない。私の知る限りではね。
I would have to feign ignorance about this topic because I needed to keep it a secret. Rather than waking up and being forced to lie to join a conversation, it was much easier just to sit here and pretend I was asleep to listen in on their discussion. Wait, why did I have to pretend to be asleep while eavesdropping on my friend's conversation? The guilt, stun.
で、他にもいるんでしょ？
彼女がたたりにあったのか、鬼隠しにあったのかはわかんないけどね。
Onikakushi? Onikakushi? To be hidden away by a demon? What a mysterious phrase. I did, however, get the feeling it meant nothing good.
いや、何せよ、もう一人いるんだよね。だよね。
お社様ならね。
でも今年は出ないよ。
バッチャと村長さんが話してたんだけどさ、今年は事前に警察と話がつけてあるらしいんだよ。何が起こっても騒ぎにしないで穏便に片付けるって。
じゃあレナたちが知らないだけでどこかで誰かがかもしれないってこと？
かもね。
次はレナかな？
安心しなよ。レナはちゃんと帰ってきたよ。
でもダメだったんでしょ？
昔の話だよ。もうやめよう、この話。
Amidst the uncomfortable mood, both of them went silent. The entirety of the conversation was still a bit unclear, but a few parts caught my attention. First of all, the term onikakushi, to be demoned away. By the context it was used in, I would guess it's similar to being spirited away. I suspected that was what it meant because Tomitaki-san and that woman, it really bugged me that I don't know her name, vanished after the Watanagashi. The next thing that stuck out was when Rena said, "There's another one, right?" Mion also said, "If it's Oyashiro-sama's, yeah, responding to something. If it's Oyashiro-sama's curse, then there had to be 2 victims. Is that what she meant?" Come to think of it, I remember Mion saying at the beginning they didn't know if it was from the curse, or if it was a case of onikakushi. It seems that the curse and being demoned away are different things, and they were phenomena that were paired together. I recalled Tomitaki-san's terrible end. That wasn't something as elegant as disappearing. That horrendous end would be described as cursed. Then the woman with him, it means she vanished because she was demoned away? What I do know is, there's normally an even number of victims of the curse proper. And the last point that bothered me was Rena. Rena was frightened. For what reason, I didn't know. However, she knew that something had made her a potential target for Oyashiro-sama's curse. If I recall correctly, Oyashiro-sama should be the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. Isn't a guardian deity supposed to defend citizens and drive out invaders? If I recall correctly, yesterday Oishi-san said that originally the targets were enemies of the village, but recently there was no longer any distinction between them or regular outsiders. But if that was the case, then I would think that I'd be the more likely target, having moved here more recently than Rena. From her composure, I could infer she was grimly certain that she would be next. I should probably relay what I just heard now to Oishi-san, informing the police of what I heard by eavesdropping on my friends while pretending to be asleep. It made me feel terrible. It raised a few questions and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Would it be better not to seek the answers to those questions? As I continued to learn more and more, I felt like I had fallen past the point of no return. I would definitely regret this one day. I would definitely regret ever having learned of these events. Now we go back to the silly, goofy music. Let's go. There's nothing concerning here. We are a happy, silly, cheerful game about friends playing games and being kind to each other. No dark secrets to be seen here. In the distance, I could hear the ring of the handbell signaling the start of afternoon classes. Yeah, I couldn't sleep at all. I hastily opened my eyes and raised my head up. It was in that moment when I leaned against the back of my seat. The thumbtack stuck on the back of my chair with tape. Dang. Circumstantial evidence was enough. Guilty without trial. Capital punishment. I furiously jumped from my seat. And I tripped as if my feet were tangled up. My shoelaces had been tied together.
やるじゃねえか、サトコ。俺が寝ている間に気配を消してこれだけの上等をやってくれるんだよ。
The teacher came in right as I was about to pull off my shoes and tackle Satoko.
先生が来ましたよ、ケイチさん。着席遊ばせ。
Not caring one bit, I made her eat a flick to the forehead.
ケイチさんがいじめた。
ほら、前原くん、下級生をいじめてはいけません。謝りなさい。
I saw Satoko stick out her tongue at me, that little brat.
ほら、前原くん。
へいへい、謝りますよ。サトコさん、ごめんなさい。
In any case, I apologized, even if it was in a completely insincere tone of voice. Damn her, I'll remember this.
ケイちゃん、ケイちゃん、その恨みは部活でね。着席、着席。
I sat down after Mion told me to, so he switched to class representative mode. With the boring classes finished, school was finally over for the day. Now then, what should we do for our club today? Personally, I want to play that deduction game one more time. I was hardly able to play it last time because of Oishi-san. Rena and I weren't even able to test out our strategy.
そうだね。今日こそケイチくんと二人で大勝利だよね。
Yippee, let's go!
でもどうでしょうね。同じゲームを続けて2日やった試しはありませんし。ミーにお願いしてみたらどうでしょうです。
Mion looked over her shoulder as we made eye contact. She slowly tapped her palm with her fist as her face suddenly lit up.
いっけね。今日おじさんの手伝いの日だ。悪いみんな、今日なし。
おじさんの手伝い？柄にもなく高校なやつだな。
悪い悪い。ほんとすっかり忘れてた。じゃあごめんねみんな。今日はおじさんこれで帰るわ。
Mion left us with that and rushed off to the exit after snatching up her bag.
みーちゃんね、たまに街にあるおじさんのお店の手伝いに行くんだよ。
Ah, I thought she wasn't the type to get caught up in such bothersome stuff.
バイト代が出ると言ってましたですわ。結構なお小遣いになるらしいですの。
I see. She was able to pay for that mountain of games with what she saved up from there.
しかしそれはアルバイトと言うんじゃないのか？校則で禁止されてないか？
家事手伝いは除くと書いてありますです。
And that was she's calling it. So what now? Pass on the club today?
じゃあ今日はこれで解散かな
別に部長不在でもいいだろう。やろうぜ、部活。
I opened the club locker and began searching for the deduction game from the ever-growing pile of games.
あったあった。昨日の推理ゲーム。ようやくコツが分かってきたところで中断しちゃったからな。
At the very least, I wanted to repay Satoko for what she did during the afternoon break.
私は構いませんけど、レナさんとリカはどういたします？ケイチくんがどうしてもって言うならちょっとだけいいかな。僕はみんなが揃っての方がいいなと思いますです。
When she says it like that,
部活がないなら僕はお買い物に行きたかったのです。お醤油とかを買いに行きます スですよ。あ、そうでしたわね。すっかり忘れてましたわ。ならレナも久しぶりに宝探しに行こうかな。
Yeah, boy, treasure hunting. Let's go. What's this now? Everyone is no longer in the mood for club activities. I mean, can you really call it club if Mion's not there? Just not right. I kept on trying to push the matter. It may make them realize I had a trick up my sleeve. Oh well, I'll give up this time.
せえ、このゲーム楽しみにしていたのにな。
I shuffled through the cards as if I was still caught up on it.
またの機会に叩きのめして差し上げましたよ。
犯人はサトコ、凶器はピストル。やはり貴様の仕業だったか。
Well, the foreshadowing here is crazy. If you know, you know.
なんですって？じゃあ。
Satoko looked through the cards on the desk and stuck out 3 of them at me.
犯人はケイチ。凶器はロープで、犯行現場はラウンジですわ。
ロープなんかいらねえ。このまま締め殺してやら。
いやー、ケイチさんの毛玉な。
Phew. Well, I guess it's good that I got that out of my system.
ケイチさん、覚えてらっしゃい。いっぱいいっぱいいたぶられましたですね。かわいそかわいそです。かいかい。
Everyone got ready to go back home. I also helped gather up the scattered cards. I suddenly paused. They were just the suspect cards, but I noticed something strange. Uh-oh. Rena. Satoko. Rika. Keiichi. Mion. Satoshi. Aw, heck. Who the heck is Satoshi? Satoshi? Not all the cards were made by us. Or at least, every card besides this one has the name of a club member. Does this mean that this Satoshi fellow is a member? Is there someone in the class named Satoshi? I couldn't find anyone named Satoshi on the class roster stuck up on the wall.
ケイチくん、早く片付けよう。
Being rushed by Rena, I took a step quickly. Satoko and Rika-chan had already headed merrily for their lockers, so we were the only ones left in the classroom. Right now, Rena had already gotten her bag and was ready to leave.
レナ、やっぱりこのクラスからも転校で出て行っちゃった生徒って結構いるんだろ？
I tried asking Rena in a bit of a roundabout way. Rena made a troubled face and then answered.
うん。ひなみ沢って田舎でしょ？転校していっちゃう人も時々いるよ。
じゃあこのサトシってやつも転校してったのか？
ごめん。よく知らないの。
There was a bit of a pause, but the answer was pretty much immediate.
その、意地悪で言ってるんじゃないの。ちょうど去年、レナが転校してきてから入れ替わりだったかな。だからあんまりお話ししたことないの。ごめんね。
I'm not sure, sorry. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial, and felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends, do they? So I do appreciate that they keep that unsettling curse thing from me. But if everyone is worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's That's what it means to be friends, right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with these mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance.
ケイチくん、怖い顔してる。なんでだろう、なんでだろう。
It was probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened her.
ごめん。今日の部活楽しみにしてたからさ。残念だっただけだよ。
I rustled Rena's hair.
帰ろうぜ。
Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My long, outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry.
ケイチくん、疲れてるのかなかな。
Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made the situation even more unsettling.
そうか？
うん。今朝からケイチくん、なんだか元気ないよ。風邪かな。
Physically, I was pretty sure I was in perfect health. It may not seem like it, but I have had perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer.
きっとケイチくん、引っ越しの疲れが今になってきたんだよ。前に住んでたところとは全然違うところだもん。いろいろ慣れたり覚えたり、疲れて当然だよ。
I love Rena. She is just such a kind, wholesome person. He's so lovely.
そうなのかな。
I already feel like the stuff that's gonna go down soon is gonna hit so much harder in the visual novel. Oh my gosh. Like, all of these characters are so cute and wholesome and lovable. What the heck?
うん。
This is gonna be so much worse.
絶対にそうだよ。レナも最初そうだったから。わかるんだよ。だよ。
I wondered if Rena also experienced a slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. Thinking so, I thought she was the only one who could understand how I felt.
レナがひなみ沢に転校してきた時の話が聞きたいな。どんなだった？
Feeling I had been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened.
ケイチくんと同じだよ。人の名前も村の中も全然わかんなかった。みーちゃんとかが親切にしてくれたから全然寂しくなかったけど、やっぱり心細かったよ。
Rena is lovable till she goes on a Ren page. I mean, Rena told me all the details of when she had moved here. Our first acquaintances and surprises, worries and good times.
じゃあ、レナもサトコにやられたのかよ。
うん。椅子に座ろうとしたら画鋲が置いてあったの。どっさり。そしたらそれを懐かしいな。
ミオンの部活にはいつ頃誘われたんだ？早速初日にか？
うんうん。最初は部活なんてなかったんだよ。途中からできたの。放課後にみんなで残ってゲーム大会をやろうって言い出して。
そういえばミオン初代部長とか言ってたっけな。
Hello, welcome to stream, welcome.
納得。
内緒だけどね、みーちゃん最初は弱かったんだよ。全然勝てなかった。
ミオンが？ちょっと想像つかないぞ。
自分で言い出した罰ゲーム、ほとんど自分でやってたんだよ。本当に内緒だからね。
Oh man, maybe there's hope for me that one day I will become really, really good at games, just like Mion. I'm really bad at games now, but just you wait, Bites. I'm gonna level up. I'm gonna become so powerful. I can't believe Mion was like that. She gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion is at her best when she's fighting dirty.
みーちゃん以外ともちょっとずつお友達になれて、でも、ケイチくんが引っ越してきてからかな。ようやくここに馴染めたって自覚したのは。
I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she just moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them.
俺はいつになったら仲間だと認めてもらえるんだろうな。
なんて言ったの？
あ、いや、ごめん。独り言。
ケイチくん変なの。
Rena was poking fun and laughing at me, and I couldn't help but laugh as well. But I suddenly stopped. Then, after making up my mind, I spoke.
なあ、レナ。みんなは俺に嘘や隠し事なんかしてないよな。
Keiichi coming in with the very blunt questions. Like, like how is Rena supposed to respond to that?
してないよ、全然。
Like, how is anyone supposed to respond to a question like that?
嘘だろ。
Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense.
どういう意味だろう、ケイチくん。
Her tone was still the same cheery and light-hearted one as before.
してるよな。俺に隠し事を。
After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash. But she came back at me in a way I didn't expect.
じゃあさ、ケイチくん。
Uh-oh.
ケイチくんこそ、レナたちに嘘や隠し事をしてないかな。
え？
Her tone didn't change, but it was the first time I'd seen this expression from Rena. With how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe this was the same Rena.
してないかな。嘘や隠し事。してないかな。
You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked as if she did. Here we go. The incident with Tomitake-san, how I felt alienated from the group. Even without having to think about it, there were things I knew I felt guilty about. But I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomitake-san, to be considerate. I was keeping it a secret, the same way they didn't tell me about Yashiro-sama. Then, aren't we even?
してないよ。嘘も隠し事も。
嘘だよ。
Her answer was instant and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me, watching me like a hawk.
どうして嘘だって。
ケイチくん、昨日の部活の時、先生に呼ばれて職員室に行ってたって言ったよね。レナは知ってるよ。ケイチくんは職員室になんか行かなかった。
Dun dun dun. I swallowed hard. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what happened.
先生はお客さんが来たって言ったんだよね。でも、昇降口ではお話ししてなかった。校門のところの車の中で話をしてたよね。知らないおじさんと。
Rena knew everything. She knew that I was called out by Oishi-san, that I heard about the incident with Tomitake-san as well. Did she know all of it?
誰？あのおじさん。
知らない人だよ。
知らない人がなんでケイチくんに用があるの？
俺が知りたいよ。
じゃあ何の話をしていたの？
みんなとは関係のない話だよ。
It was a lie.
嘘だ！
Dun dun dun, she said the line, let's go! Rena's scream echoes through the trees. Oh man, it's like so loud. Let's go. And they'd frightening birds into the air. I couldn't exhale the deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here I first realized. The person in front of me, she wasn't Rena Ryugu. She wasn't Rena Ryugu. And who was it that was standing before me right now? Who had assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance? I held my breath for so long I could feel myself suffocating.
Ne?
And then she made a facial expression that Rena normally might have made. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. I cowered as I imagined that. Then she smirked as if she was able to see right through me.
圭一君に内緒や隠し事があるように、レナたちにだってあるんだよ。
It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine to almost bump into my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to my core. I was terrified knowing she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long empty silence, she finally spoke.
行こう。だいぶ涼しくなってきたよ。
It was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me and I slumped onto the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight.
あれは誰だったんだよ。
I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and asked myself once again, who was that person who looked like Rena Ryugu? Dun dun dun! Here we heckin' go. The silly goofy vibes are coming to an end. There's no more silly goofy to be had in this chapter. I was out of it, and couldn't bring myself to do anything until dinner except stare blankly into space. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. Then who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling, knowing that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head. Though those thoughts continued swirling around in my mind. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the stairs.
圭一、本屋さんから電話よ。
A bookstore? What are they calling him for? Bookstore? Can't think of why they'd be calling me. I went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。
Not this guy.
私、沖宮書房の大石と申します。
大石さん？大石さんじゃないですか。
ごめんなさいね。ご両親が出られたので、本屋さんということにしておきました。 警察ですって名乗ると、いろいろ気分を害されるでしょうしね。
Boise's son was, in his own way, rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want my parents hearing me talk to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor.
夜分遅くにすみませんですね。実は昨日渡した電話番号のメモ、あれ古い番号だったんです。本当に申し訳ない。これから申し上げる番号を控えておいてもらえますか。
あ、はい。どうぞ。
He gave me the number for his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk and it was pretty hard to hang up.
さて、どうでしょう、前原さん。何か変わったことはありましたか？
I see. This was the real reason. He really beat around the bush here. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed.
大石さんはここの地元の方ですか？
ええ、そうです。生まれも育ちも沖宮ですよ。
If he's from around here, he might know.
大石さん、鬼隠しって何のことか知ってますか？
それはですね、人が鬼にさらわれ、忽然といなくなってしまうことなんです。このあたり独特の言い回しですね。世間様で言う神隠しと同じ意味です。
Whereas my friends would say they didn't know what I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. It made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything.
平見沢は、前原さんにこんなこと言っていいんでしょうか。
もったいぶらないでくださいよ。大石さんが言わないなら俺も何も言いませんよ。
ああ、いやいや、そういう意味じゃないんですよ。ただ気を悪くされないかと思いましてね。実はですね、ひなみ沢はその昔、鬼の住む里って呼ばれて恐れられていたんですよ。
鬼？鬼って地獄にいる金棒を持った
というよりは人食い鬼ですな。
Aw, heck.
里に降りてきて人をさらって食い散らかしてしまう。なんて怖い昔話があるんですよ。
Demons snatching up people is what this onikakushi really
たたり
means.
と鬼隠しは一緒に起こるって言ってましたけど、どういうことですか？
I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row, but I didn't know there were people disappearing for those same 5
た
years.
たりと鬼隠しが必ず一緒に？それは初めて聞きました。そうなんですか、前原さん。
それは俺が聞きたいですよ。レナとミオンが話してたんです。お社様のたたりなら必ずたたりと鬼隠しが起こるって。
Boise's son began hemming and hawing on the other hand of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind.
前原さん、最初の事件ご存知ですよね。バラバラ殺人。
ええ、6人の犯人のうち1人はまだ逃走中なんですよね。
例えばそれ、逃走中じゃなく鬼隠しにあったんじゃないでしょうかね。
How come that one line wasn't like... Didn't sound like a phone call? Was that a mistake? Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was a particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators. They posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. They staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off.
じゃあその翌年の事故はどうです？誘致派の男と妻が一緒に事故死したんですよね。
実はですね、正式には事 事故死したのは夫だけなんです。妻は死体が上がりませんでしたから。現行法では死体が発見されない限り行方不明扱いなんですよ。
At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch off the main stream of the river for dozens of miles. But in the end, they weren't able to find her body.
でも死体が見つからないだけで亡くなったんですよね。鬼隠しとは違うんじゃないですか？
死体が出ない以上、亡くなったとは言えません。
Hello, welcome to stream. Welcome,
法
welcome.
律で定めた年月が過ぎるまで生存扱いなんです。
I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. If that part was reality.
3年目はどうなんですか？神主は病死、妻は自殺ですよ。
前原さん、実はね、これも全く同じなんですよ。
Dun dun dun. The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless swamp deep in the forest around Hinamizawa. Meaning it's all circumstantial evidence. We simply found her suicide note in front of the swamp. The diver was able to recover a few of her articles, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive somewhere.
これらを鬼隠しと呼んでいいかちょっとわかりませんがね。前原さんの言う通り、確かに毎年一人行方不明。
今年の事件では富武さんの連れの女の人が行方不明。じゃあ去年の主婦の撲殺事件はどうです？誰か行方不明になりましたか？確か犯人は逮捕されたんですよね。
ええ、逮捕されてます。以前に逮捕歴もあるやつでしてね。別件で取り調べ中に犯行を自供してます。ですがですね、犯人逮捕からしばらくして被害者宅の子供が行方不明になったんです。
Aw, heck.
犯罪に巻き込まれたのかどうなのか、現在も捜査してます。
だって犯人は捕まったんですよね。それともその仲間が？
さあ、多分単独犯だと思います。もっとも今では確かめようもないんですよ。実はその男、取り調べ中に拘置所内でお亡くなりになっちゃいまして。
He swallowed a spork and choked to death. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide.
つまり過去5年間必ず死者と行方不明者が一人。
そうなります。いえね、私も驚いていますよ。こんな共通項には気づきませんでした。
I couldn't believe that this could lead to the closing of those incidents. Was this something they had in common?
例えば鬼隠しにあって失踪した人には何か共通点があるとか。
Oishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarized the events.
1年目はダムの作業員、2年目は誘致派の男の妻、3年目は神主の妻、4年目は被害者宅の子供で、5年目は交際相手かな。特につながりはなさそうだし。
1年目はともかく妻とか交際相手とかそういう人が目立ちますな。
It does seem like there are a lot. And that means the fourth year's victim's child was different. It would have really stood out if it were all married couples. Except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitaki-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved, if I recall correctly.
4年目に行方不明になった子供ってどんなだったんですか？
おとなしい感じの方だったらしいです。年はあなたの一つ上です。名前は北条聡さん。
Satoshi Hojo, what the heck?
え？
Dun dun
サ
dun.
トシ？
I remember that name. Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last year?
あなたの学校に去年まで通っていました。 を聞いていませんか？
Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then where I sat once belonged to the one who was demoned away. It was his seat. I recalled the cold sensations that came from that desk. It made my hair stand on end. The strain of mysterious deaths. No, but Yasuhiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation. It was the feeling of Yasuhiro-sama caressing the back of my neck.
お社様のたたりか。
Could Yasuhiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it, and I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reached a point where I'd learned something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. My execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was what I remembered. Rena. Rena said she may be the next victim of the curse.
竜宮レナさんがですか？去年転校されてきた前原さんのクラスメートですよね。女の子には刺激の強い事件ばかりです。怖がるのも無理ないんじゃないでしょうかね。
It wasn't that. He said it might be her next. He said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it.
もっと確信じみたものだったように思います。なんていうのか、その。
She was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena, but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me.
そうですか。では、こちらでも少し調べてみます。前原さんも少し竜宮さんの様子に注意してあげてください。
それは、レナを見張れってことですか？
そんな意味ではありませんよ、前原さん。お友達が次の被害者にならないよう、少し気にしてあげてほしいということです。
At that moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Uh-oh. A sudden knock at the door set my heart racing. In an instant, I pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver.
ケイチ、ちょっとここを開けてくれ。
On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? It's so late.
すみません、親父が来ました。今夜はこれくらいでいいですか？
ええ、夜分遅くに本当に申し訳ありませんでしたね。何か分かりましたら教えてください。こちらも進展がありましたらご報告しますよ。では失礼します。
Have a pleasant evening.
開けてくれ。父さん、両手が塞がってるんだ。
What is Dad doing? I stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea, a fairly fancy spread for our household. With even sugar and lemon slices on the side. Everything you could ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality.
何、父さん。それ、何のつもりだよ。
もう、はぐらかすなよ、ケイチ。入るぞ。
Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face. But for my entire life, I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gone into him?
で、何の話をしてたんだ？
I jumped. It was something I had to keep from my father. But how could I explain to him I was talking to a detective? Assuming he was this late at night.
別に何も。友達だよ。
電話の話じゃなくて、来てたんだろう、今。レナちゃんが。
Rena-chan.
来てないよ。
もう、ごまかさなくたっていいぞ。さっきレナちゃんが遊びに来てたじゃないか。だいぶ話し込んでるみたいだったから、お茶でもって思ったら、すれ違いだったんだよ。
I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back.
どのくらい話し込んでたかな。
レナちゃんが2階に上がったのが半くらいだったから、小1時間くらいかな。
2階に上がったの、父さん見たの？
ああ、見たよ。圭一の部屋は階段を上がって奥の扉だよって声もかけた。
Rena came to my house about an hour ago. Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Oishi-san. I didn't reply, but I knew it was in my room, so we had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the second floor. We thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. He passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed, and passed by my dad and returned home. Then, after she came upstairs, and until she left, where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had, for about an hour, in the hall. No, she couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. I could easily hear everything being said inside. All the unsettling and unguarded things I spoke to Oishi-san about began rushing through my head.
お父さん、あまりか、それよりアトリエを片付けて。またこぼすわよ。
Mom yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. Looked down at the floor around the doorway, where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now, so I was talking. Oh no, I didn't mean to skip. Okay, thank you, text log. Just now, as I was talking to Oishi-san, with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away this whole time? All that time, in this dimly lit doorway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. Dun, dun, dun. Notice from the police chief. Alright, we'll read that real quick. Oh man, we got the Usoda achievement. Let's go. Alright, let's view our new tip. July 1st, 1982. To Departments 1 through 12. XX Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General XXX. The Chief Constable and all faculty, all facility managers, regarding cases situated in Hinamizawa Village. I see ominous tea with its coolest vapors wafting around. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa Village had been reported by certain sections of mass media. and it's drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. That's become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as classified. Okinomiya, Station 1982, Case Number X. Hinamizawa Village, Housewife Murder, dated June XX. Okinomiya Station 1982, Case Number X. Hinamizawa Village Student Disappearance, dated June XX. 2. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station 1979, Case Number X. Hinamizawa Village Site Foreman Murder, dated June XX. Sierra Station 1980, Case Number X. Shirakawa Natural Park, Falling Incident, dated June XX. Okinomiya Station 1981, Case Number X. Hinamizawa Village Shinto Priest's Wife Disappearance, dated June XX. 3. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management. XX Prefecture Police Headquarters. Internal line XXXX. Police Affairs Department XXXX. So many X's. Alright, let's continue. Dawn of a new day. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day. What's wrong? Kate? Sorry, I forgot that was dialogue. I'll let her speak. It seems that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday, I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Nothing screams absolute terror like Redacted. Oh man. I just kicked something. I don't know if that made a sound. I'm so scared of redacted information. It's so scary. What are they redacting? Without a doubt, I felt a presence. I felt the presence of something in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except, not being able to stand it, I gathered up my courage and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease.
風邪かもしれない。なんだか食欲ないんだ。
あら、ちょっと熱あるんじゃない？どうする？学校行ける？
Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. Wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? It could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. Maybe all of this was just hallucinations. Oishi's not real. Oishi's not even a real person. You've just been imagining it all because you have a cold. Just go to bed, Keiichi. If I took some medicine and got a good day of rest, I might be able to greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Oh man, who could it be? Startled, I was back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than when I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena.
レナちゃん迎えに来ちゃったけど、どうする？お休みする？
Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. The lunches she made were delicious and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. It had to have been my cold. Just had to be.
休む。ごめん。
じゃあ母さんが断ってきてあげるわね。
Mom headed off to the door. I would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. I didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep-deprived, I quickly fell into a deep slumber. I had only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table, I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off to somewhere far away. The convenience of this. It likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. They would be back for dinner, but might be a bit late. On the note it said, "The insurance card is on the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There's also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it really was just leftovers from the morning, and just in case, went to the hospital. Normally I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this made me feel guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Erie Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There's a parking lot and even a reserved spot for buses. They must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
前原さん、診察室へどうぞ。
After half-heartedly answering all of the chatty doctor's questions, I responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days' worth of medicine. I thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill, took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course I had no intention of eavesdropping. Of course you did, Keiichi. If it just wasn't for that word.
やっぱりonikakushiかいね。
どうかね。まだまだ若い子だけゃ。駆け落ちかもしられん。どこの誰とよ。季節のたびに東京もんが来ちょったろ。でっけえカメラ持った若者が。あれと仲が良きゃったって話。知られへんの？
Were they talking about Tomitake-san? I feel my ears perking up.
そら知らんけど。でも、普通駆け落ちっても仁義あるだろう。書き置きとか辞表とか書かんかいね。
すったらん書かんから駆け落ち言うんね。わきゃ看護師さんの顔見られんようなるんは寂しいね。
高野さんはしっかり者よ。どこへ行ってもやっていけろん。
We'll see. So her name was Takano-san. That woman was Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Yashiro-sama's shadow was following me everywhere I went. I started listening more closely. They began talking about fishing. It didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Yashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Yasuhiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. So long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. I might as well buy a snack with the change for the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. At that moment, I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far into the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. Not this guy. It was Oishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me.
ちょっと体調悪かったんで、今日は休みました。お昼を買って帰ろうとしてたところです。
そりゃよかった。実は私、お昼に行こうとしてたんですよ。ああ、お体に触るようでしたら構いませんよ。
I was just gonna lie down after going home anyway. I didn't really have a cold.
地元の食堂だと嫌でしょう。町まで行きましょう。ちょっと走りますがよろしいですかな。私、おいしいお店知ってるんですよ。
I'd finally begun to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I went with Oishi-san, riding in his frigid car. It's almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie.
ゆうべは遅くまですみませんでしたね。ご家族に怒られませんでしたか？
いえ。
I recalled Rena. I'd been listening to the phone conversation all of that time, separated from me by just the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thought still creeped me out. There's a big bump that jolted the car. The road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This is where Tomitake-san died.
富武さんの捜査は暗礁に乗り上げています。
Oishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye.
自分の爪で喉をかき破るという異常さから、幻覚作用のある何らかの薬物によるものだと信じているのですが、こういう症状、それも急激に引き起こす薬物はなかなかないらしいんです。もちろん検視解剖もそれを念頭に置いて十分に行ったのですが、手がかりはやはりありませんでした。
漫画なんかによくあるじゃないですか。体内に取り込まれると分解したりして証拠が何も残らないなんて、そんな薬
ありますよ。塩化錯視何でしたっけ。まあ、結構あります。でもですね、富武さんのような症状を引き起こす薬物にはそういうものはないそうなんですよ。
じゃあ警察は富武さんは叩いて死んだってそう言うんですか？
I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death.
悔しいですが、今のところは。ですが、死因はともかく、死ぬ前に何人かの人間に囲まれて暴行を受けたことだけは間違いありません。たたりでなく、人間が事件に関わっているのは疑いようがありませんよ。
That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa, train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Oishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. course there wouldn't be children in here if in the middle of a weekday.
2名です。タバコは、我慢します。
こちらへどうぞ。ご注文がお決まりになりましたらお呼びください。
You were led by a peculiarly dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Oishi-san in the booth.
どうです？このお店のウェイトレスさんの格好、可愛らしいと思いません？
え？まあ、どうでしょうね。
このお店ね、いっつも大人気なんですよ。お料理よりもウェイトレスさんがね。
No man.
ああ、大石さん、目がやらしいですよ。
Oh man, it's Angel Mort. Let's go.
そうですか
Can't believe he took Keiichi to a maid cafe. Regardless of how the waitresses looked, the food was decent enough. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Missy-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table.
昨日、ひなみ沢の昔話が出ましたよね。
ええ。人食い鬼の里だって言われてたって話でしたっけ？
私もあんまり詳しい方じゃないので、うちのおばあ様に今朝ちょっと聞いてみたんです。
Oishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket.
なんでもですね、大昔はひなみ沢は鬼ヶ淵って呼ばれてたんだそうです。
鬼ヶ淵、すごい名前ですね。
今でもその名前残ってるんですよ。神主の妻が受水自殺した沼の名前は今でも鬼ヶ淵というんです。沼の底の底は鬼たちの住む国とつながってると言われてたんだそうです。
Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous swamp.
でですね、鬼ヶ淵は恐れられていたと同時に崇められてもいたんだそうです。
Respect born of fear. As you'd say, it was kind of deification. A village of inhuman creatures.
鬼たちはある種の仙人でもあったらしいんですよ。例えば、不治の病にかかった村人を鬼ヶ淵に運んで治してもらったりとかしたんだそうです。
I mean, why not be ecstatic if an old cop took me to a maid cafe? Even if you're calling them demons, Tengu, Lord of Goblins, or Senin would be a more apt description.
鬼って言っても、そんなに悪い人たちじゃないみたいですね。
でもそこはやっぱり人食い鬼らしいんです。ばあ様に聞いた昔話ではですね、息子を治療してもらった代償として連れてきた母親を食わせろとこうなるらしいんですよ。
Alright, now I'm getting taken out of the scene a little bit, just picturing like Oishi getting like checky with a maid. It's such a silly image. But I feel like he totally would.
息子を治療してもらった対価が自分ですか？それは怖いな。
もちろん母親は息子を連れて逃げます。これをですね、鬼ヶ淵に住む村人、鬼たちがですね、全員で追いかけて取り囲んで捕まえたんだそうです。
The entire village, apparently. It's quite a frightening thing to imagine.
結局、母親も息子も捕まって食べられちゃったんだそうです。おしまい。
その話、矛盾がありますよ。当事者の2人が食べられちゃったんですから、その話が残るはずがありません。
ありゃ。昔話はこういうの多いですよね。
In contrast to the ghastly tale, Oishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee.
でもですね、他の昔話にも結構あるらしいんですよ。鬼ヶ淵の鬼たちが総出で獲物を捕まえに来るというのは。
I recalled that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. As the similarities with how that part about unification overlapped.
鬼たちの獲物は常に一人で、しかも前もって決められているらしいんです。
え？
That caught my attention. Oishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant.
ばあ様が言うにはですね、鬼の家に閉じこもって布団をかぶってろって言うんです。
つまりどういうことですか？
獲物の人を助けたり、かくまったりしてはいけないんだそうです。鬼の狩りを邪魔しない限り、村人には危害を加えない。そういうルールなんだそうです。
Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other
ル
words,
ールを破ったらどうなるんです？
さあ、何しろ人食い鬼ですからね。
many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Even though it wasn't the whole village, it's conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. There's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it.
じゃあ大石さんはやっぱり村ぐるみもしくは村人数人の犯行だと見てるんですね。
前原さんはどう思います？ああ、すみません。コーヒーのおかわりいいですか？
That's what I wanted to know. Seems that we were both waiting for the other to say the last part. He waited for the waitress to finish pouring coffee before speaking.
去年、サトシ君が失踪した頃から私は不審に感じていたんです。
Oishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his
そ
coffee.
れで、サトシさんのお友達、つまり前原さんのお友達グループの皆さんをちょっぴりだけ、本当にちょっぴりだけですよ、調べさせてもらったんです。
If Oishi-san had said this to me before, I would have gone angry at him for calling my friends into question. But as I was now, I couldn't.
とてもつまらない話になります。前原さんがつまらないと感じたらいつでもおっしゃってください。終わりにしますので。
Oishi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Oishi-san, but none of them were as threatening as this. A little voice inside me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth.
お願いします。
It was all I could utter. Oishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began.
1年目の事件の被害者は現場の監督さんだったんですが、事件の数週間前に園崎美音さんと取っ組み合いをしてるんですよ。何度か。
Oishi-san had said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd be if she got worked up.
2年目の事件で誘致派の夫婦が事故に遭いましたよね。現場にはお嬢さんも一緒にいたんです。それが北条聡子さんなんです。
Aw, heck.
え？貞子って貞子？
Oishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted down.
3年目には神主夫婦が亡くなられますよね。そのお嬢さんが古出里香さんです。
リカちゃんが
4年目に亡くなった主婦はもうわかりますね。北条聡子さんの義理のおばです。当時は聡子さんはご両親を事故で失っていましたので、被害者宅に。
I could tell my lips were getting dry. Didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought it was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, snuck all the way to my feet.
ちなみに4年目に失踪した北条聡さんは聡子さんの実の兄になります。
ちょっと待ってください。
It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Katie Mayabara. But Oishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard.
被害者たちはなぜかあなたのお友達グループに全てつながるのです。
偶然に決まってるじゃないですか。
前原さん、静かに静かに。みんな見てますよ。
Mion? Satoko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends. It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Well, Rena is different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all.
リュウグ・レナさんは去年まで茨城の郊外にお住まいでした。まあ確かにいずれの被害者とも直接の面識はありませんが。
He said it in a roundabout way. He thinks he's also connected?
実は調べてみたら、リュウグウさんは引っ越しの少し前に学校で謹慎処分を受けているんですよ。なんでも学校中のガラスを割って回ったんだとか。
レナが学校中のガラスを割った？
That same spacey Rena had. I couldn't even imagine it.
3日間の謹慎が明けた後も復学しなかったようです。その間に神経科に通院し、自律神経失調症と診断され、何週間かの間、投薬と医師によるカウンセリングを受けています。
I wondered if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happens to people who are already methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those masked Rena's easygoing personality.
でですね、そのカウンセリングをした医師のカルテに、レナさんの会話内容が記載されているんですがね、その中に出てくるんですよ。結構。
何がです？
I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to regret.
出てくるんですよ。お社様って単語が。
Felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of the Yashiro-sama before she even came to Hinamizawa?
お社様っていう幽霊みたいなものがですね、夜な夜な自宅にやってくるっていうんですよ。枕元に立って自分を見下ろすんだって。
My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told.
その後、しばらくしてひなみ沢に引っ越されたんです。ああ、そうそう。レナさんはよそ者なんかじゃないですよ。
え？
住民票で分かったんですが、竜宮一家は元はひなみ沢の住人です。レナさんがちょうど小学校に上がるときに茨城へ引っ越されたんです。
My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of comprehension.
大丈夫ですか？もう終わりにしましょうか。
Those words brought me back. Couldn't let it end
レ
here.
ナのことは分かりました。じゃあその最後の被害者の富武さんはどうなんですか？誰と接点があるんですか？
Irritated, I let out one final reprisal.
全員ですよ。お忘れですか、前原さん。みんなで楽しくお祭りの晩を過ごしたじゃないですか。何人もの警官が皆さんの楽しそうな様子を見ていますよ。
Now there was nothing I could respond with. I felt silent as my brain turned to mush.
そろそろ出ましょう。ああ、前原さん。お昼の薬は飲みましたか？
I had completely forgotten about the medicine I had gotten today until Oishi-san said that. I got another glass of water, and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid much attention when I was on my bike. Did cars normally shake this much? It's almost as if this road was desperately trying to tell me something. That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitaki-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken by the car.
お家の前まで送りましょう。今日は病気でお休みだったんですよね。長々とお話ししてしまって申し訳ありませんでした。
なんで俺に話すんですか？
I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer.
私、一応確認しましたよね。お話やめましょうかって。
じゃなくて、どうして俺に接触してきたんですか？
I understood quite well that Oishi-san was investigating a string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Oishi-san spoke of was news to me. First of all, what could I, having just moved here, possibly known? By chance, there was a reason for Oishi-san to reach out to me as it would have to be. I was part of Mion's circle of friends who looked suspicious to Oishi-san.
私ね、今年で定年なんですよ。定年したらばあ様の意向で引っ越しちゃう予定なんですよ。だからこそ在職中にこの事件だけははっきりさせておきたかったんです。
で、大石さんは疑ってるんですよね。みんなを。
Oishi-san didn't really give a response. Felt a little late, but I thought it was his way of showing a bit of consideration for my feelings.
これはこの道30年の勘です。前原さん、危ないのはあなたなんですよ。
I wanted to reply with that's absurd, but in my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it.
私は今年で定年ですから、来年の綿流しの日にはもういません。だから今年中に決着をつけたいのです。
In other words, it's insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the victim.
所長からも注意を受けています。一連の事件は個々に解決しているから蒸し返すなという、これは一種の圧力です。
圧力って何のですか？
ひなみ沢の誰かですよ。着きました。この辺でいいですか？
After some time, the car finally reached a path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. Chirping of the higurashi hurt my ears.
今日の話はすべて忘れてくださっても結構です。ですが、私は捜査を続けますよ。お社様のたたりは今年で終わらせます。
何かあったら連絡しろってことですか？
いいんですよ。前原さんがどうしても連絡したくなった時だけでいいんです。
I wasn't collected enough to understand Oishi-san's roundabout way of saying it.
ゆっくり休んでください。病気でお休みの時に良くない話ばかりして申し訳ありませんでしたね。
I didn't really give any sort of response.
私はいつでもあなたの味方です。それだけは信じといてくださいよ。それじゃあ、失礼。
The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made a U-turn, disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. It felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Oishi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, and saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashiro-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole.
畜生。俺、死にたくないよ。
For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. Dun dun dun. I mean, yeah, that's kind of not the best thing to just, like, dump on a kid. Like, Casey's, like, what, 15, 14? Like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna die next year. So, like, have fun with that. Wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. Probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it.
もしもし、前原ですけど。
お、生きてた。もしもーし。
Oh man.
イオンだけど。具合はどう？
圭一のお友達ですか？圭一は休んでますけど。変わりましょうか？
え？あ、お父様で？ああ、すみません。
Went back to the silly goofy vibes. Nothing bad to see here. We are back to just a wholesome slice of life visual novel. Don't worry. There's no murder here. No one's dying. We're all just happy and silly and everything's fine.
バカで引っかかってやがるよ。
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact I couldn't say no saddened me.
元気そうで安心したよ。レナもすっごく心配してたよ。サトコはざまあないですわって喜んでたな。リカちゃんは病気でかわいそうですってさ。
チェ、みんなで勝手に大盛り上がりしてたみたいだな。
まあまあ。でさ、ケイちゃん、お見舞いに行っちゃ都合悪いかな。
お見舞い？いいよそんな。重病人ってわけじゃないんだから。
うちのバッチャが山ほどおはぎを作ってさ。
Mochi, let's go.
お裾分けに持ってけって言ってんだよ。だから持ってくね。
おいおい、風が移っても知らねえぞ。
おじさんもレナもおバカさんだから大丈夫。
What the heck does that mean? Why is he throwing Rena under the bus? Like, oh yeah, Rena's also really stupid.
すぐ行くから。
She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too. That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion. I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later.
どんな感じ？ちゃんと薬飲んで寝てた？
そりゃもうしっかりとな。
元気そうでよかった。心配してたんだよ。
悪かったな。明日にはもう大丈夫だよ。
Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions.
ちょっとお邪魔しようかと思ったけど、まだ本調子じゃないみたいだね。
そうか？
Seemed my face appeared a bit sullen.
じゃあこれ、ケイチくん、みーちゃんのおばあちゃんが作ってくれたおはぎだよ。
Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. There might be about 5 in here. It's quite hefty.
あ、サンキューな。ミオンのばあちゃんによろしく伝えといてくれよ。
中にね、レナが作ったのも混じってるんだよ。ケイチくんに見つけられるかな。
これ今日の部活を欠席したケイちゃんへの宿題ね。おはぎにアルファベットがついてるから
Oh
明
man.
日対等すること。
お見舞いなのか部活なのかどっちかにしろ。
元気元気。これなら明日は大丈夫そうだね。
この騒ぎで熱がぶり返したらどうしてくれんだよまったく。
みーちゃん、あんまり騒いじゃ悪いよ。もう行こう。お家の人にも怒られるよ。
Both of them thought my parents were home. That's because the entranceway was a mess.
そうだね。もう行こっかね。あ、そうそうケイちゃん。
なんだよ。
お昼何食べた？
Sudden question startled me and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I'd never seen her like that, with a highly unsettling visage. But why is he asking me about what I ate for lunch? What he said was so inane it was almost meaningless. The way he said it was almost like he didn't even care at all about what I ate.
表で食べたよ。
He must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then I'd read too deep into it, so I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
ケイチくん、お昼は外食だったんだね。
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me.
どう？美味しかった？
なんでそんなことを聞くんだよ。
Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I had eaten at that restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There's no way they could have known where I was.
渋いおじさまとご一緒だったみたいだけど。誰？
The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale.
へえ、ケイチくん、それ誰？ひょっとしてこの間の人かな。
I could feel the back of my throat growing dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything?
なんでそんなことわかるんだよ。
It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
さーてね、おじさんにわからないことはないからね。
Mion sneered knowingly. Her laugh seemed to carry on forever.
で、ケイちゃん、何のお話をしてたの？ずいぶんと熱くなってたみたいだけど。
みんなの話はしてないよ。ミオンともレナとも関係ない。
聞いてもないのにレナたちの名前が出るなんて、なんだか怪しいな。
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode.
ま、何を隠れてやろうとも、おじさんにはすべてお見通しってこと。それだけを忘れないでくれればいいかな。
I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
ケイチくん、顔色悪いよ。もう横になった方がいいと思うな。
そうだね。私たちはもう帰ろう。
As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。
あ、
明日学校休んじゃ嫌だよ。
Oh man. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all it could have been overheard, the beginning of when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about one thing. They were warning me that that was unnecessary. What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they are warning me against?
何バカなこと考えてんだよ、俺。
I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare. For some reason, it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down, calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because someone from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate for lunch, did she? She only asked was it good. They were curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. It's like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. What the heck? Thinking that, I suddenly feel like vomiting. Yeah, that's kind of a gross analogy, Keiichi. What are you even talking about? I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. Didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here, I couldn't make heads or tails of everything. They were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. So long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. That strange affliction. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender. Was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, Rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. After hearing of the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Oishi-san and Tomitaki-san, when I was told about Yasuro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Oishi-san told me all that strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I shouldn't have even asked Mitaki-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watanagashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. If I just hadn't... Hello, welcome to stream, welcome. Nipa. Ika still hasn't said that yet. I'm still waiting for the first Nipa of higurashi. That's right. That's why they... That's why they beeped Tomitaki-san. Such impudent outsiders speaking to the likes of me after everyone went out of their way to keep it a secret from me. That form of censorship. Very easy to misread. I'll just leave it at that. They'll probably... They'll probably beep Oishi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everyone was warning me about was better left unburied. With better left buried. Besides that, it was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course a guy like that is going to be beeped. Both Tomitaki-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys had just fall to Yasuro-sama's curse and just beep. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze, with a lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chills that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I had completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. Oh man, time for the mochi, let's go. I wonder if you will. Remember the homework that you brought with them when they visited me. Oh wow, our club did delivery, that was something else. I picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, this was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. Oh my gosh, the red bean paste, that's my favorite flavor. Let's go. I want to eat. Actually, I have red bean mochi, actually. I just remembered. I literally have red bean dango in my fridge right now. Now I really want to eat some. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then. He said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I'm not sure what kind of person Mion's grandma was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said her grandma made a ton of them, was told to give some out if I remember correctly. Well, that meant 4 of these were from that large batch. Then what about Rena? She probably only made 1. So she'd probably spent quite a bit of time on it. meaning the one Rena had made with this one, E. For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as he knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since he said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap.
よし。お茶も準備 OK。まずはディフェンディングチャンピオンのミオンのばあちゃんからだ。どれ？
Not bad. Smooth bean paste and a soft chewy texture left a little to be desired. The tea I drank afterward also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now, how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate, one would think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. It was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was a little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so was to be expected. The deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, the size you just couldn't get enough of. I'd only had one bite of Rena's. Probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there's something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached it with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked down at the hands that performed such a vile act. Then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. It was shorter than Mion's. Rena's hair was still quite long. And it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. But thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There's a bit of metallic sheet on one end of it. Ah yes, there was a hole for where the thread goes through, like it was a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well. Quite sharply. It really did just look like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by it looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? I couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew. Let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and felt around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly, I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly evoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. And I thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless swamp. Alright, let's check out our new tips. And then we might, oh my gosh, hard to swallow, enjoy a homemade snack. Oh my gosh, the achievements are great. The achievements are so good. Alright, I think we'll do the tips, and then we'll probably end here for today, because my voice is getting a little bit tired. Alright, what's a drug that makes you commit suicide? This seems like a very wholesome, happy tip.
直入に自殺させる薬ってないんですか？
直接的にはない。
遠回しですね。では間接的にはあるってことですか？
自殺したくなる精神状態を誘発することはできる。ちゅうことだ。
難しい言い方になりましたね。何ですかその自殺したくなる精神状態ってのは。
例えば一般的な心理学見地から言えばじゃが、心理面が内向状態から外向状態に転じるときに最も自殺が多いと言われちょる。
Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state.
内向状態の時は自信を喪失し非常に悲観的だ。だが自殺もせん。自殺をする気力すらないからだ。逆の状態もまた自殺をせん。今度は逆に非常に自信過剰で行動的なので、自らを順風満帆と思う。だから自殺などせんのだ。
なるほどね。どっちの状態でも自殺をしないのに、状態が入れ替わるときに自殺するんですか？
内向状態には自殺願望はあるが、自殺という大仕事を遂げる気力すらもない。だが外向状態が始まると徐々に気力が充実し、体の自由が利くようになってくる。
なるほど。つまり自殺する気力が回復するわけですね。
そういうことじゃのう。だからこの時期に変な気を起こさんように処方箋を施すわけじゃな。
では富武氏はこの心理状態だったんですかね。
一般的に自殺はちゃんとした文化的な手法で行われる。道具を使用してな。自虐行動とは全く違うぞい。
富武氏の自殺は文化的じゃないですよね。ではやっぱり何かの中毒と考えるのが自然ですか。最初に言った自殺したくなる精神状態を起こす薬ってのを教えてください。
鎮痛薬の一部には心理を内向から外向に過剰転換させる効果があると報告されとる。それから催眠作用を持つ薬を異常摂取した場合にも異常行動が報告されとるが、あまり一般的ではないの。
その2つは検視の報告だと違うみたいですね。他の可能性は？
あとは病気しか考えられん。甲状腺異常を引き起こす病気にしばしばそれに似た症状が報告されとる。だがそれらは概して特徴的な症状が多い。 けは違うの。
もっと突発的に発生するものはありませんかね。今回のケースと合うような突発性で自殺したくなるようなやつです。
他には？そうじゃな。脳障害によって精神に異常を発生する状態じゃな。これは薬物中毒でも起こるが、脳の外傷や一部の病気なんかでも起こる。
つまり薬によらなくても異常な精神状態に陥る可能性があると。
仏は犯人に囲まれて命に危険が迫っとったんじゃろ。極度の緊張が続いて、それに分泌異常が重なって、さらに打ちどころが悪くて脳に障害が起こり、自虐行動に走った可能性もあるかもしれんの。
もうちょっと省略して言ってくれませんかね。
つまり乱闘中に豆腐の角に頭ぶつけて、それで異常が発生したと言っとるんだ。
じゃあ星には殺意はなかったってことですかね。ちょいと小銭を巻き上げようと思ったら、たまたま殴りどころが悪かったと。
The two plump men laughed hoarsely.
なんてわけはありませんね。
いかにも。薬物の常用にせよ、精神的なものにせよ、仏の身元が鍵を握っとるぞい。そっちはどうなっとるんじゃ。
あら、こんな時間。そろそろ戻らないとクマちゃん怒っちゃいますね。
おお、頑張れよ。いいお年をの。
いいお年を。
Honestly, I think it's really crazy how many clues and like obvious things are presented even in the first chapter, but without the context of the later chapters, you don't realize how obvious they are. It's fascinating. This whole story is so well crafted. Like, my gosh.
おや？今の皆さんは確か
議員バッジが2人いたっすね。
じゃあ県議と市議の園崎だ。
面白いっすね。親戚同士で県議と市議やってんすか。
これがずるいんですよ。お互いの名前で慈善運動バンバン。片方の選挙中にはもう片方が別に講演会を開いて二重に選挙運動やってんですよ。堂々と。
よくわかんないんすけど、それって公選法違反じゃないんすか？
慈善運動にならない限り政治活動は無制限ですからね。クマちゃん、そんなんじゃ選対本部好きになった時大変ですよ。公選法くらいは勉強してください。
俺、知能犯化は無理っす。バカですから。
North Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also the Mayor of Hinamizawa. They're all influenced by the Sonozaki family. What crap.
お見送りしてんのは副所長とうちの課長っすね。
He came to me. That night, the department chief invited me alone to get some oden. I thought that was it.
大石さんは友達多いから聞いてるかもしれないけど、聞いてるかな？
いえ、何も。
お母さん、ガモにはんぺん頼みます。所長んとこに議員の怒鳴り込みがあったんだよ。
あれま、そうなんですか。あ、お母さん、私にもう一杯ください。
Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza.
ひなみ沢事件の捜査の仕方で 君を指名して陳情してきたよ。
ありゃ、私？はてはて。
とぼけるなよ。例のひなみ沢の過去の事件。蒸し返してるだろ。
私、富武殺しで手一杯で、そんな余裕ないですよ。
本当に？本当にそうならいいんだけどさ。
There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink.
いやー、ごちそうになっちゃいました。今月は負けっぱなしだったんで財布つらかったんですよ。助かりました。
いや、いいよ。また馬教えてよ。大井さんと同じ馬を買うから。
最近はダメです。馬の声がさっぱりですから。タクシー！
I'm going by train. The department chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. Although he could still rattle off, looks like his legs were already jelly. Listening him into the cab, I gave the driver the department chief's address.
ではではまた明日。
大井さん。
はいはい。
過去の事件は全部個別に終わってる。縦に並べるのはやめるんだよ。村の連中は半ば本気でタタリを信じてるんだから。
私だってタタリなんか信じちゃいませんよ。
大石さんは来年で退職じゃないですか。退職金でローン返してお母さんと北海道に引っ越すんじゃなかったっけ？ばあ様がどうしても生まれの北海道に帰りたいって泣くんですよ。最後のご奉公なんです。退職金はまあすすきので楽しむことにしますな。所長は退職時特別昇給を見直すかもってさ。
A public service severance payment is calculated based on their monthly salary when they retire. A special promotion of 2 pay grades is given before retirement. This tops up the employee's severance payment. This tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, it's not exactly a commendable custom. Incidentally, the difference that 2 pay grades makes to the payout is quite significant.
さすがインテリの若所長は言い出すことが模範的です。でもまあ、私たちの給料が血税で支払われてることを思えば、まあ、時代の流れですかね。
It certainly wasn't a laughing matter, but I'll laugh through it anyway.
僕も模範的なこととは思わないよ。でもまあ、大石さんはそれだけの退職金をもらってもおかしくない活躍をしてきたからさ。僕としてはぜひもらってほしいんだよ。もらえるもんならそりゃ欲しいですけどね。もらえるよ。大石さんが大人なら。運転手さん、引き止めてすみませんね。お願いします。
I closed the door roughly, interrupting the department chief's conversation a bit rudely. Looked like he still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights.
参ったな。ローン返済できるかな。
Alright. We are going to be saving and stopping here. End of chapter 9 for tonight. I guess for today. It's not night for me. I'm just so used to saying tonight. But yeah, that is where we are going to be ending for today's stream. Man, we hit a lot of iconic scenes today. We've got lots more crazy stuff coming up in Higurashi Chapter 1 Onikakushi. I'm very excited to continue on. Oh man. I'm having a great time, so I hope you guys are as well. Aw, Saz. Don't worry, we'll get more higurashi content next week. Don't you worry. But yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. It means a lot, of course. Of course, if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I go live next. My next stream will be on Saturday at 8 p.m. JST. I'm going to be playing Pokemon TCG Live for real this time. Oh my gosh. Like every time I try to do a Pokemon TCG live stream, something happens and it gets messed up. But it will actually be happening on Saturday. I swear. I swear to heck. There will be Pokemon cards on Saturday. And then, after that, on... Wait, what day is it? Is it Tuesday or Monday? I don't know my own schedule. Let me look at my schedule really quick. Alright, yes, so Saturday at 8 p.m. JST, Pokemon TCG Live. Monday at 9 a.m. JST, Idol Manager. Both games I'm excited to play some more of. It's been a little bit for both. Much longer for Pokemon. But it's been a little bit since my last Idol Manager stream, so I'm excited to get back into that one. And yeah. It was fun hanging out with all of you, and I hope to see you all again next time. Follow me on social media if you haven't already. All my links are in my link tree below. Join the Discord server. The Discord server is super fun. And I love seeing new faces in there. The link to that is also in the link tree below. And yeah, hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day or night wherever you are. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye bye. Bye bye.